3 years ago, I was living a life that, from the outside, seemed perfect. I was married to Thomas, a kind and loving man who adored me, and together we had 3 beautiful children, Caleb, Emma, and Liam. Our home was filled with laughter, bedtime stories, and the chaos of raising young kids. To the world, we were the picture of a happy family. But beneath the surface, something was shifting within me, a restlessness I couldn't quite name. It wasn't that I didn't love Thomas or our life together. I did. But there was a part of me that felt unfulfilled, a part one had buried for years, convinced it didn't matter. I had always known I was bisexual, but I told myself that my attraction to women was just a small, insignificant part of who I was. I thought I could ignore it, that it wouldn't affect my marriage or my family. I was wrong. It was around this time that I met Sky. She was a coworker, vibrant and magnetic in a way that drew people to her effortlessly. We started as friends, bonding over shared interests and late-night conversations. But as our friendship deepened, I began to feel something I hadn't expected, an emotional and physical attraction that I couldn't ignore. Sky made me feel seen in a way I hadn't felt in years. She awakened a part of me that I had tried to silence, and for the first time, I allowed myself to explore it. I told myself it was just a phase, a harmless crush that would pass. But it didn't. Instead, it grew into something more, something I couldn't control. I began an affair with Sky, convincing myself that I could keep it separate from my life with Thomas and the kids. I told myself I was still a good wife and mother, that what happened outside of my marriage didn't define me. But the truth was, I was lying to Thomas, to myself, and to everyone around me. I became skilled at compartmentalizing, at hiding the guilt that gnawed at me every time I kissed my husband goodbye or tucked my children into bed. I told myself I was doing this for my own happiness, but deep down, I knew I was betraying the people I loved most. The facade began to crack when Thomas found out. He stumbled upon a series of emails between Sky and me, and the truth came crashing down in the most painful way possible. I'll never forget the look on his face when he confronted me, hurt, confusion, and a deep, aching betrayal. He had trusted me completely, and I had shattered that trust. We spent hours talking, crying, and yelling, trying to make sense of what had happened. I could see the pain in his eyes as he struggled to reconcile the woman he thought he knew with the woman who had lied to him for so long. It was in those moments that I realized the full extent of the damage I had caused, not just to our marriage, but to our family. We tried to make it work, for the sake of the kids. We agreed to stay together, to keep our family intact, but the tension between us was unbearable. I continued my relationship with Sky, unable to let go of the connection I had found with her, and Thomas grew more distant, more resentful. The house that had once been filled with love and laughter now felt like a battlefield. Every conversation laced with anger and hurt. It became clear that our marriage was unraveling, and there was nothing I could do to stop it. Eventually, Thomas made the decision to file for divorce. He told me he couldn't live like this anymore, that he needed to prioritize the stability and well-being of our children. His words cut deep, but I knew he was right. I had destroyed the foundation of our marriage, and no amount of apologies or promises could fix it. The reality of losing my family hit me like a tidal wave. I felt lost, desperate, and utterly alone. I had spent so much time chasing what I thought I needed that I hadn't stopped to consider the cost. As the divorce proceedings began, I watched Thomas step up in ways I hadn't expected. He took on more parenting responsibilities, becoming the rock our children needed during this turbulent time. But as he grew closer to them, I felt myself drifting further away. The guilt was suffocating, a constant reminder of the choices I had made and the pain I had caused. I missed bedtime stories and family dinners, replaced by awkward visits and strained conversations. I could see the confusion in my children's eyes, the questions they were too young to ask but felt all the same. It broke my heart to know that I had done this to them, that my actions had disrupted their sense of security and love. In the midst of all this, I began to understand something about myself that I had been avoiding for years. I wasn't just bisexual. I was gay. The realization was both liberating and devastating. On one hand, it explained so much, the restlessness, the attraction to Sky, the feeling that I had been living a lie. On the other hand, It forced me to confront the damage I had caused by not being honest with myself sooner. I had hurt the people I loved most, all because I was too afraid to face the truth about who I was. The consequences of my choices were harsh. The divorce left me with limited custody of my children, and I faced the painful reality of not being a constant presence in their lives. I missed their milestones, their laughter, their everyday moments. The guilt was overwhelming, a constant weight on my chest. I had dismantled the family I had worked so hard to build, and there was no going back. But amidst the pain and regret, there was also a sense of relief. For the first time in my life, I was living authentically. I was no longer hiding, no longer pretending to be someone I wasn't. It didn't erase the mistakes I had made, but it gave me a sense of clarity and purpose. I knew I had a long road ahead of me, filled with challenges and difficult conversations, but I was determined to face them with honesty and compassion. As I navigate this new chapter in my life, I hold on to the hope that one day my children will understand my journey. I want them to know that my love for them has never wavered, even as I grapple with the consequences of my actions. I want them to see that I am trying to be better, to live a life that is true to who I am while still honoring the love I have for them. The road ahead is uncertain, but I am committed to walking it with integrity, both for myself and for family I still deeply care for.